Hey you guys, so today I'm going to share with you study hacks that I actually use and love. School can suck, it can be really hard, but I can definitely contribute a boost in my grades to these tips. So today I thought I'd share these tried and true methods to improve your grades. Okay, so I'm done with my math credits now, but math was really hard for me and it got really frustrating when I couldn't figure out how to do a question. This website saved my butt when I was stuck on math problems. You can just plug in any equation and it will solve it for you. So I am in my third year of university now, and I've been using this method to remember things since high school. Whenever I need to remember a set of terms, I make up a sentence with the first word of each thing I need to remember. For example, here I'm making a sentence with the first letter of the components needed for RNA translation. So I write out the first letter of each term and then I make up a sentence with those letters. When I'm taking the exam, I write it out right away so I don't forget a term when a translation question comes up. I do this every single time I need to remember a whole group of things because it's a really good way to make sure that you don't forget anything. So when I was trying to get into the school that I'm going to right now, I had to keep track of my goals for my grades. So to figure out what I need to get on the exam going into finals, I always use this tool called the Mercer Weighted Grade Calculator. It lets me put in all my grades and figure out what I need to finish with the mark that I want. It saved me a lot of stress because a lot of the time I figured out from this calculator that I would need a grade on the final exam way lower than I thought, so I wasn't freaking out trying to get like 95%. If you only need a textbook in a course as a reference and not for the actual practice problems for assignments or anything like that, don't bother buying a $500 textbook, believe me. Instead, just get a similar textbook at these websites for free. They all basically have the same information, it's just worded differently and they have different examples, but that's about it. They're all basically the same. So I definitely recommend doing your readings, but if you're in a serious rush doing an online quiz or filling in an assignment and your readings are super long and boring, just go to the PDF of your reading and then press Ctrl F on your keyboard. And then you're going to search one of the most distinguishable words in the question. Like in this question, I would search oikos or oio, whatever it is, and it'll come up with all the places that it's mentioned. So instead of reading the whole essay looking for it, you can see the relevant information to answer your question. So I see so many people using planners. As much as I would love to have a cute planner, I ended up forgetting it at home a lot because I would take it out of my bag so much. So instead, I put all my dates in my phone calendar because being honest, I very rarely leave my house without my phone. So that way I can always have my schedule with me. And I like how Apple did it on the iPhones. You see this little dot whenever you have a midterm or an assignment due. So you always know when you have something due. This is a pretty interesting tip and also one of my favorites. Whenever I get burnt out and lose touch of that motivation, I actually go onto Tumblr and I look up StudySpo or StudyBlur. It's like a little community where students post pictures of pretty notes and their little study spaces. It makes you feel not so alone and it always inspires me. As you guys probably know, I'm also obsessed with aesthetics and some of these notes are just above and beyond and it just blows my mind. Okay, so we've all been there. Your professor or teacher is going on about a subject and when you leave class, you're just like... So what I do is go onto Google and then I type in the subject followed by type.ppt. It's going to bring out a whole bunch of PowerPoints which are awesome and super visual so you can be more clarified on the subject. Even if my professor is great, I love to do this before an exam just to review everything. Another one of my favorite memorization techniques. So studies show that when you write something out, you're more likely to remember it than if you just read it. Whenever I need to memorize something, I write it out a few times to help me remember it later on. For example, this is how I memorize the prefixes in organic chemistry. I just wrote out meth, eth, prop, so on and so forth, until I had it down. Leave me a comment about what your favorite memorization technique is. I'm always curious about everyone's different ways. A lot of you may know about this one. I feel like all students mention it, but if you want to look into how good a school is or how good a professor is, go to ratemyprofessor.com. It shows you ratings on things like the food and facilities at any university or college, as well as ratings on all the professors there. My last tip is another one to save you money. Everyone uses Microsoft Word, but it's super expensive. Well, I think it's super expensive. Instead, just look up OpenOffice. It's the same thing and it's free. And those are all the study tips that I have for you today. I have way more, so if you want to see those, be sure to give this a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.